A very good evening. From stories around the world to stories here at home, this is the National News broadcast. I'm Vidishni Saliskumar.
A very good evening to you. I am Dishan Veerakon, and we start off by taking a look at your top stories for tonight.
81 persons who have had contacts with the woman of Divulapitiya are also afflicted with corona. The President orders officials to take immediate measures to control the spread of the disease. A communique from the Presidential Media Division says that there is no imposition of a curfew and that social media information is false. The former President appears before the Easter Commission. Court verdict on the 20th Amendment to the President and Speaker upon submission of written evidence.
Now in your top story for tonight, the government requests the general public not to be deceived by false news items being propagated through social media regarding all island curfew to be imposed tomorrow. The Presidential Media Division says that special notification will be published by the printed electronic media as directed only by the Presidential Media Division or Government Information Department.
Chief Epidemiologist of the Health Ministry, Dr. Sudha Samaravira, made these remarks over the prevailing situation in the country following the detection of a new cluster.
One case from Divulapitiya, that is one of the garment factory worker who is working in Minuangoda, and also her daughter was found positive late in the evening yesterday. So there were two cases from the community reported after 2 months from the last reported from the community. In that cluster, that is where the female worker was working, that is one of the garment factory in Minuangoda, we have done PCR test of all the contacts and also the family members, and we have found today that there are another 69 cases are positive for COVID-19 in this cluster. So there are altogether 71 cases now reported from this cluster. This is one of the very significant thing over the COVID-19 scenario in our country. This is a garment factory that most of the people were working in this factory are living in their homes or somewhere else, so that they are frequently moving in and out from the factory and in the society. So because of that, there is the risk that it is contaminated into the society, that more and more cases would be there in the society. So what we are doing is that we are identified all the contacts of these 69 cases that is been identified today, and all these contacts will be quarantined and will be subjected to PCR testing. In addition to that, we will be doing some community PCR testing also to identify whether there are any other cases in this area. Yesterday that we have done about 100 to 150 PCR testing in this cluster, in this area, and also that we have planned to do PCR testing today for about 1,600 people. So these results will be available by tomorrow, day after. At the moment, actually, we are still studying this cluster, and that we can see that this cluster is mainly confined into the Gampah district, but some people travel outside the Gampah district to their home areas, so that we are identifying those cases, the people also, and they will be quarantining and investigating for whether they have got COVID-19 infection or not. With those results only that we have to think of whether that we want to do some mobility restrictions for the people in the country. At the moment that we have identified that Veyangoda, Divulapitiya and Minuangoda police areas, that is main areas that these people are living and working, so that we have imposed quarantine curfew in these areas to restrict the mobility. And to decide on the expansion of this curfew or the restriction of mobility will be decided in the coming days with the epidemiological investigation on the identified cases and their contacts. His Excellency President has presided today for a task force meeting on the COVID-19, including the participation of Honorable Minister of Health and the State Ministers and all other stakeholders, including the Minister officials and other key officials from the other areas, as well as Army Commander and other Triforces heads. So with that, we discussed about the current situation of the COVID-19 in the Divulapitiya area and also Gampah district, and the measures that has to be taken to curtail this outbreak in these areas and how to prevent this being spread into other areas of the country. and also how to manage the identified cases and also quarantining these people. All these factors were discussed at this meeting.
Now, 81 persons afflicted with the COVID-19 disease were reported from the island today. 78 persons out of this number have been identified as those who have had close contacts with the Devulapitiya factory. More than 2,250 persons who have had maintained contacts with the afflicted persons have been directed for quarantine. 1,400 employees of the Brandix factory in Minuwangoda where the COVID-19 patient from Devulapitiya was employed were subjected to PCR tests today. They are presently undergoing self-quarantine. The Minister of Health says all the reported COVID-19 patients and those who have had contacts with them are being subjected to PCR tests. It has also been confirmed yesterday that the daughter of the COVID-19 patient at the Brandix factory in Minuwangoda was also afflicted with the disease. 41 students of the school where she is studying were also subjected to PCR tests today. They have been directed to a quarantine center in Nigambo. Their family members are undergoing self-quarantine. The general public are able to obtain information on COVID-19 disease and related problems through the Suasaria hotline 1999, which remains open 24 hours of the day. The Suasaria ambulance service is also functioning 24 hours of the day. PCR tests were conducted on 7 persons in Nelumdeniya Kagol today. One of the persons is an employee of the Brandix Institute in Minuwangoda. A special discussion was conducted, presided over by Health Minister Pavitra Wanyarachi, on measures to be taken to control the spread of COVID-19 disease and to strengthen treatment services in the Gampaha district. Attention was focused on steps to be taken to prevent the spread of the disease outside of the Gampaha district. The quarantine curfew implemented in the Devulapitiya, Minuwangoda and Veyangoda police divisions will be implemented as scheduled, taken into consideration of the present situation. The police headquarters says it is fully prohibited to enter and leave these areas. Commissioner General of Buddhist Affairs Sunandakarya Peruma has decided to grant vacation to all Buddha Dhamma schools throughout the country. The Dhamma schools are scheduled to be reopened in parallel to the reopening of schools on the instructions of the Director General of Health Services. Arrival of visitors to all prisons in the island has been suspended until further notice. The Sri Lanka Satosa at a media briefing today has disclosed that face masks of high quality will be provided to consumers at a low cost. Accordingly, a face mask is to be provided for 20 rupees. They will also be sold at the price of 17 rupees and 50 cents for state institutions.
Well, on the COVID meeting, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa instructed relevant parties to take immediate measures to contain the spread of COVID-19 following the identification of close associates of the affected and to increase the number of PCR tests. Well, President Rajapaksa made these remarks at a discussion with the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 Prevention held at the Presidential Secretariat today following the tracing of COVID-19 positive persons in several areas in the Gampaha district. The close associates of the infected have already been identified. They have been subjected to self-quarantine at their homes. President advised to send them to closest hotels to undergo the quarantine process. Doctors are of the view that the failure on the part of the people with the passage of time to follow health guidelines issued by the government is the main reason to the sudden spike in the number of affected. Instructions have been issued to carry out random PCR tests in every district in the country as well as in institutes. The general public and the media are obliged to assist the initiatives to control the spread of the pandemic with a clear understanding of the current situation. President also said that a thorough investigation should be carried out into the presence of COVID infected from the community after a lapse of 2 months. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa said that no appropriate measures have been taken to avert the spread of the disease, yet all necessary initiatives will be taken upon the detection of one patient. He said that he receives many messages requesting to repatriate Sri Lankans stranded in other countries. He said that due to the limitations in quarantine process and hospitalized treatment, the repatriation of Sri Lankans can only be carried out considering the available resources and facilities in the country. He said that if the outbreak in the country can be successfully mitigated, then the people arriving from abroad with the potential to be infected with the disease can be controlled accordingly. He added that he is keen to learn the source of the new cluster, as in to investigate whether a person arrived from abroad or a resident Sri Lankan has been cause for the outbreak after a period of 2 months. The president also emphasized on the role of media to prevent the spread of the disease through awareness.
දවසක් කියනවාද කතා නොකරපු මේක ගැන හැමදාම මම කියනවා මේක බලන්න කමියුනිටි එකට යන්න පුළුවන් මේකයි කන්ට්‍රෝල් කරන්න ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ ෆැටිග් ලෙවල් එක බලන්න වැඩියෙන් ගන්න එපා පුළුවන් තරම් විතරක් ගන්න මම කල්පනා කරේ අපේ රටේ මේක බිඳුවට බස්සගත්තොත් ඊළඟට පිටින්නේ එන්න පුළුවන් ඒක අපි කන්ට්‍රෝල් කරගත්තොත් හරි කියන එක මතය අනුව මේක ඒකයි මමත් ඉන්ට්‍රෙස්ටඩ් හොඳටම බලා ගන්න කොහෙන්ද මේකේ ආරම්භ වුනේ කියන එක
Paying tribute to the great efforts by the police and the public health officers, President emphasized the importance of carrying out that program at village level. Steps have already been taken to prevent people from leaving areas where infected patients were identified. Other factories and institutions in the area will be randomly checked. The police said that many precautions that had been identified as measures to be taken to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 were not properly followed by the public. The requirement to gazette the existing rules and regulations aimed at preventing COVID-19 was also discussed. President Rajapaksa also instructed the media to continuously apprise the public regarding the coronavirus. The potential of indigenous medicines to strengthen the immune system and to speed up the healing process was discussed in detail. Minister Pavitra Vanyarachi, State Minister Sisira Jayakodi, Secretary to the President P.B. Jayasundara, Principal Advisor to President Lalit Veeratunga and the members of the Presidential Task Force for Prevention of COVID-19 outbreak were present in this meeting. Well, on the information message, the Department of Government Information says that it is prepared to provide to the general public official information pertaining to the coronavirus expansion and the existing situation without any delay. A communique issued by the department has also focused attention on false information publicized in certain social media in this regard. The State Information Department informs the general public to place confidence only on official communique being issued by the government at this movement. The relevant measures are being decided following a proper evaluation on the existing conditions and the situations that would arise later on.
In the meantime, Minister of Education Professor G.L. Piri says that if the GCE advanced level and scholarship examinations are to be conducted as scheduled, it should be carried out according to the instructions of the health divisions. The minister at a media briefing today said the priority is safeguarding the health of children. Minister Professor G.L. Piri said that the scholarship examination is scheduled to be conducted on Sunday the 11th and the GCE advanced level examination on Monday the 12th of this month. He added that if the exams are to be conducted, it should be done according to the instructions of the officials of the health sector under special security measures. Full details of the health of the students will have to be obtained from parents before Friday. A methodological program is needed to identify the eligible students. Welcome back. Now moving on with more stories here at home. Now former President Maithripala Sirisena says that it had been possible for the Presidential Commission to summon him before the Commission, as he himself had abrogated the immunity vested upon the President. He made these remarks giving evidence before the Presidential Commission investigating the Easter attack for the first time today. He also said that it was pleasing to appear before the Presidential Commission investigating on the real offenders of the Easter attack. Former President Maithripala Sirisena also told the Presidential Commission that had he was informed even through one telephone call on intelligence information prior to the attack, he would have been able to prevent the occurrence of such an attack. Maithripala Sirisena had functioned as the Executive President, Minister of Defence and Commander-in-Chief of Armed Forces at the time of occurrence of the Easter attacks. General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, State Minister Dayasiri Jayasekara, State Minister Duminda Dissanayaka and Parliamentarian Suren Raghavan were present to listen to the former President's testimony. Respondents of the case on failure to prevent the Easter attack, former IGP Pooja Jayasundara and former Director of the State Intelligence Service Nilantha Jayawardena were also present on the occasion. The Additional Solicitor General has inquired the former President whether he has given evidence before a judiciary before. The emphatic answer was no. The former President has answered that he has not given evidence, and then the State Additional Solicitor General has questioned whether an investigation committee was appointed on a series of attacks launched by terrorists on the Easter Sunday of last year. The former president has replied that at the time of the attack, he was in a hospital in Singapore. He further said that when he left the hospital and arrived at the hotel where he stayed, his chief security officer had informed him that an attack had taken place in Sri Lanka. The former president added that when he had contacted former President's Secretary Uday R. Senviratne, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, former Defence Secretary Hemasiri Fernando and former IGP Pooja Jayasundara, the former president further said that he had instructed them on to take measures immediately to maintain law and order and the imposition of a curfew and arresting of terrorists responsible for the attacks. He added that he had thought of appointing such a committee when he was staying in Singapore. He also said that he had informed his secretary to look into the matter and to hand him over a report within 2 weeks. The former president also said that he had told the secretary to decide by himself on the membership of the committee. The president also further said that his health condition was not at a conducive state as he was hospitalized even the day before. A return flight to Sri Lanka was made available by around 10 o'clock on the day of the explosion. He added that it was around midnight that he returned to the island. The National Security Council was convened on the following day. He also said that at this occasion he had given appointments to the members of the Presidential Investigation Commission appointed to look into the attack. That was the Malalgoda Committee. It was on the recommendations of the Malalgoda Committee that the Presidential Committee where he has given evidence today was appointed. The commission was appointed through extraordinary Gazette notification dated 21st of September 2019. In response to a query of the State Additional Solicitor General as to his opinions regarding democracy, the former president has replied saying that what he wanted was to cut the fruit without injuring his hand. He further said that the reason why he had established democracy by giving media freedom as never before by a president. He also said that freedom has to be enjoyed with responsibility. The former president also said that when having meals, food has to be consumed to a limit. He said that democracy is also similar in nature. He added that this was the first occasion a former president has arrived before a commission to give evidence. This was made possible due to the changes made through the 19th Constitutional Amendment. He added that he had reduced his powers on his own. The immunity enjoyed by a president was revocated by his own will. The authority rested on a president was delegated to the parliament and the independent commissions. He added that he was the only leader of the world who had committed such an act. He further said that he was extremely pleased to arrive at the commission today as he also wanted to find those who were genuinely responsible on the April 21st attack which had brought such destruction. Then the State Additional Solicitor General has inquired on measures taken during his tenure from 2015 to 2019 to control extremism and terrorism. The former president has responded saying that no state leader in any country would like to see terrorism rising in their countries during their period of administration. He had instructed to eradicate the seeds of terrorism and extremism at their very early stages. The former president said that his father was a gallant war hero who had fought on behalf of the country during the Second World War. He further said that the blood of such a hero runs in his body as well. He also said that he was survived by 5 terrorist attacks. Then the Additional Solicitor General has questioned former President as to how there were 11 out of the 22 Muslim parliamentarians of the Government of Good Governance holding ministerial portfolios. The former President has responded saying that then there was a bilateral government, saying that all of the Muslim ministers were not representing his party. He said he believed that he was the person who was engaged in governing a country for the shortest period with parliamentary support after the 1978 Constitution. He also said that he was able to govern the country with parliamentary support only for a period of 6 months after assuming duties as president. He added that in his entire remaining period, he did not have a prime minister, a cabinet or a parliament of his own. He further stated that he had governed the country with great difficulty since the appointment of Arjun Mahendran as the governor of the central bank and the central bank bond fraud. He also said that in certain instances during that period, there had been instances of arresting officials of the three armed forces as well as intelligence officials who had extended massive contributions in the war. He added that he had carried forward the government by overcoming these obstructions. The former president further said that until December 2018, the police and the Criminal Investigation Department was not under his authority. He further said that if these institutions had come under his purview, he had conducted monthly meetings by convening all senior DIGs of the island, and some of them have now given evidence before the commission. He also said that the National Defence Council had never been weakened on any occasion. He also said that his private diary contains entries as to how many times the National Defence Council had met in the months of January, February and March in 2019. He said that he could hand over the diary to the commission if needed. The former president also said that he had not made notes on the diary in the recent past. He also said that if it is necessary, it could be examined by the government analyst. He added that nobody had enlightened him on terrorism. He added that they were briefed only on extremism. The former president further said that he was briefed on IS extremism since the year 2017. Maithripala Sirisena also said that it had been reported in January 2019 that Zaharan was holding an opinion of the IS organization. Then the State Additional Solicitor General has inquired as to why Zaharan Hashim was not arrested after a clash in Alia Junction on the 10th of March 2017 when a warrant had been issued on the terrorists. The former president has responded saying presidential orders are not needed to arrest a person under a warrant. The State Attorney General then questioned as to why they had instructed later on to arrest Zaharan if arresting a warranted suspect was not a matter of concern of the president. The former president said that he had given such instructions later on as intelligence divisions had reported to him that Zaharan was following IS opinions. Then the State Additional Solicitor General has questioned whether he had realized his instructions were adhered by 21st of April 2019. Former President Maithripala Sirisena told the Presidential Commission that clearly his instructions were not followed. Then the State Additional Solicitor General has inquired whether he had come across any news even during the LTTE period on the explosion of 8 bombs in a day. The answer was no. He added there had been a severe drawback in all sections and that all should have remained on alert. The information should have been received by the 4th of April. There was a meeting of senior police officials on the 8th of April. He added that he went to Batticaloa on the 12th. He added that even at that time, his chief security officer was not informed.
Oral submissions pertaining to the petitions filed against the 20th Constitution Amendment draft bill presented to Parliament by the government have been concluded today. The judiciary has notified the relevant parties today that if there are any written submissions relating to the petition hearings, they should be filed before 3 p.m. tomorrow. The Supreme Court has also announced that the confidential verdict of the judiciary with regard to the constitutional validity of the draft bill will be forwarded to the President and the Speaker of Parliament. A 5-member panel of Supreme Court judges comprising of Chief Justice Jayantha Jayasuriya, Buwanaka Aluvihare, Sister D. Abreu, Priyantha Jayawardena and Vijit Malalgoda has examined the petitions for 4 days. Upon recommencement of trial today, Attorney General Dapula de Oliveira has reiterated before the courts that all clauses related to the 20th Constitutional Amendment draft bill comply with the Constitution. The AG has further stated that the President is bound by the Constitution to conduct free and fair elections. He has also stated that this responsibility has been broad-based through the 20th Constitutional Amendment by extending a strong legal foundation to the Election Commission to hold free and fair polls. He has also pointed out that the presidential authority deprived through the 19th Constitutional Amendment has been proposed to be reintroduced to the Constitution by means of the 20th Constitutional Amendment. The AG has added that accordingly, this will enable the President to implement without obstruction of the executive powers vested through the Constitution. The petitioners have accused before the courts that reimposition of authority of the President should not allow him or her to challenge presidential duties. They have also pointed out this would only lead to curtailed judiciary powers. The Attorney General, rejecting these arguments, said that reimposition of presidential powers will not lead to any form of restriction of judicial powers. The group of petitioners have also stated that the President has been entrusted powers to call for a public referendum on a draft bill rejected by the Parliament. They added that such a move would amount to violation of people's supremacy. However, through the proposed draft bill, in the event of rejection of a draft bill by Parliament due to conflict of opinion, the President is empowered to place directly such a bill for public referendum. The AG has pointed out that such action on the part of the President will not lead to an infringement of people's supremacy. The petitioners have also charged that the abolishment of the Constitutional Council established through the 19th Constitutional Amendment would lead to a violation of people's supremacy. The Attorney General has pointed out that the Constitutional Council is a mere mechanism for appointments.
Now in more stories, Director General of Samurdhi Bandula Tilakasiri says that provision of relief to the Divinaguma beneficiaries and the implementation of the Isurumat housing project have been carried out according to the law. He was testifying before the Presidential Commission investigating on political victimization today. Former Additional Director General of Divinaguma and Director General of Samurdhi Bandula Tilakasiri has filed a complaint on the reasons that had enabled him to be imprisoned over false accusations. Tilakasiri told before the Commission that former Secretary to the Ministry of Economic Development, Dr. Nihalja Tilaka, has forwarded a letter to chairpersons of regional development committees, including himself, and also to Additional Director General of Divinaguma and provincial councillors on the 7th of November 2014 regarding the Isurumat housing project. Through this letter, details have been published regarding the Isurumat housing program, the Divinaguma relief program, survey on the repairing of houses and the provision of 2,500 rupee basic allowance. Attorney representing Tilakasiri said that the circulars have been issued according to the accepted procedures and that reservations had not been carried according to the discretion of his client. Bandula Tilakasiri further said that he had only functioned as a director of a management board. The funds reserved for the Divinaguma project does not belong to a common property.
Defence Secretary and retired Major General Kamal Gunaratne has no need to sing the virtues of parliamentarian Rishad Batiuddin. He made these remarks during a special statement at the ministry today. Defence Secretary and retired Major General Kamal Gunaratne said that he was appointed as competent authority of displaced persons by the previous government. He further said that he could remember the role played by the present governor, Mrs. Charles, who had then been a tremendous strength to him. She had rendered a significant service to the people of Vanni and to the Vaunia district. The Defence Secretary had recalled the functionings of the then Minister of Resettlement and current parliamentarian Rishad Batiuddin. He added that they have achieved considerable progress in the district due to their untiring efforts to develop the area, disregarding racial, religious, caste, creed and other differences. He added that he considered all as Sri Lankans. The Defence Secretary said that social media are fabricating the speech he made, saying that he is praising the qualities of MP Rishad Batiuddin. He added that he had never praised a parliamentarian, but he has commended the services of present Governor of the Northern Province, Mrs. SPSM Charles. Defence Secretary and retired Major General Kamal Gunaratne added that he had mentioned only one sentence on Rishad Batiuddin, and that was regarding the fact that he was the minister in charge of displaced persons. Well, Tamil newsreader of Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation, ACM Khalilur Rahman, has passed away. He was 50 years of age at the time of his demise. Late Mr. Khalilur Rahman passed away last night while receiving treatments at the Colombo National Hospital. He served as an administrative officer at the Sri Lanka Ports Authority. He also worked as a Tamil relief announcer at the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Late Mr. Rahman served as a veteran announcer for the national television for an extensive period. Final rites of late Mr. Rahman was held this evening at Juma Mosque Cemetery in Samantherai.
That's a wrap of tonight's primetime news, and until we meet again next time, do take care and good night.